There's going to be a lot of new technologies that are coming out when it comes to artificial intelligence and digital twins. You have to think if grandma and grandpa would have signed up for the terms and conditions before their data was input into those companies. This is a 2x2 aluminum QR code that discreetly can be pasted onto a tombstone. That allows people at the graveyard to immediately pull up the legacy site of all those pictures of your loved ones in just a click of one button. With this new technology, I think that it can be a great tool, but I also think it can be a very dangerous tool if it gets used in the wrong hands.
Welcome to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. If you ever asked, how do I protect myself and those I love if something unexpected happened to me? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Niki Weiss, and together we'll explore how to protect yourself in a world where both your physical and digital legacy leave a lasting impact. And welcome back to another episode of the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. Today, my guest is Cameron. Cameron is the CEO of Rememory. Now, Cameron, Death Tech, what got you here? What's your journey to this place and space that we've discovered?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki, for having me here today. Really excited to be a part of this profession and this industry. A 24-year-old entrepreneur based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And my journey started about 5 years ago. And the story that I always share with people when they first meet me and they're asking about Rememory was on Christmas Day, my grandmother gave my mom a present that changed my life and my perspective on how to live forever. Essentially, it was a snow globe with a cardinal in the middle of it. And when my mom got it, she burst into tears because on the tag, my grandmother wrote, "Remember me." I realized as a 19-year-old that I had to do something to help preserve the way we remember our loved ones forever. And that's kind of how I got into this space.
Well, I have to share with you that I heard your story, a few weeks ago, and it was right before Christmas. Because of your story, I actually bought my granddaughter snow globes.
Wow.
Yep. While I was shopping, and I was thinking of you, and I was thinking, and they're substantial snow globes,
They are.
right? And I was thinking, like, wow, this is something that they can really, it's that memorial, it's that tangible memorial that people can hold on to and think about their loved ones. So my gosh, that just a snow globe alone brought you down this path as a 24-year-old
Yeah.
to lose your grandmother and then to be able to expand on the conversation.
Well, the good part about it is that she's actually still alive. She never passed. She just said, "Remember me." And that's what you got me thinking is because I'm so close to her that I'm like, well, when she's no longer here, how can I remember her? Luckily, I can call her all the time still, and I collect her voicemails, and we go over pictures and everything like that. But that's really the moment that instilled in my mind that there's a problem of preservation with the technology that we have, and we're going to do everything we can to fix it.
I mean, as a 24-year-old in this death tech space, that's quite a feat. I mean, when you talk to your friends and family, they're like, "What are you doing today?" They're like introducing them to this new technology. What's the response and reaction you get from them?
It's always a wild response, a lot of questions. And this is going on 5 years now. We tried to launch a different version of the company first. We found out why it didn't work, and that's why we pivoted into where we're at now. But essentially, what I tell people is I grew up with a very, very close and supportive family, and I realized the importance of life and how valuable it is at a young age. And that's kind of something that I like to take into my work. And whenever people ask me that, "You're 24. Shouldn't you be focused on living your life?" And I say, I am, and I'm doing everything I can to preserve it. And I'm trying to do that for other people as well.
So talk to us more about how'd you come up with the idea, what's been expanding, and where is it today?
Yeah. So when I first came up with Rememory, I was a student at High Point University in North Carolina, and my whole concept was I want to build a platform called with a concept called life logging, still called Rememory, but I want people to be life loggers, and I want them to be able to scan a photo and record a memory or share a video or send a time capsule into the future and have all these pieces of media slowly curate into what I called a narrative of life, which would be the ultimate way to remember somebody in a mini documentary. While I was doing all of that as a college student, which became very difficult, we were fundraising, we were running full operation. We realized that we might need to pivot because after a lot of conversations with people, I realized the blunt truth that not as many people care until they're gone. And that's why we entered the funeral space and we found the gap of technology in the small personalization sector of the funeral industry needs to be ramped up with new tech, and that's what we're doing now.
Do you hear this often? Because I do. Ah, dead is dead. What do I care? I mean, when I talk to people, in their 60s, 70s, or above, they just don't understand what their digital life, the value of it.
Exactly. And that's why I also, with all the stuff going on in Rememory, I don't think I mentioned this to you yet, but I also have a media production company, and we do something called living legacy videos, which is actually much more, people are a lot more receptive. The older generation is a lot more receptive to having people come in and ask them questions in a normal conversation about their lives. We digitize their photos and videos as well. But I do get what you're saying. People have said that to me before, and my response is, your legacy is everything. Everyone will be, everyone 100 years ago, besides people in the history books, have been forgotten. But because of the technology that we have now, it doesn't need to be that way.
But some people they want to be forgotten.
Yeah,
And the opposite, right? Because some people do want to be forgotten, but because they have that digital footprint out there, they're not forgotten.
right.
So to take more sovereignty, take more like seriousness
Hmm.
and making those decisions and those choices of either procurating like what remembering does, procurating their digital life, and being able to tell that story for their children, their grandchildren, and future generations, or be very mindful and be like, nah, I want to be forgotten. So I need to button up all of these accounts that I have out there and make sure that everything's locked down.
Exactly. Exactly.
So no, tell me more about where you feel the industry is going and the opportunity and expansion with it.
Yeah. With Rememory, I think that there's a huge opportunity within the digital legacy space. People are becoming a lot more open to it. There's a lot more companies that are coming out. Like one company I absolutely love is Remento. Charlie Green and Shark Tank. I know him. We've had a couple conversations. And people are doing it. People are wanting to preserve their stories, and there's a lot of different mediums to do so. The way that we're handling it is specifically at need or post need. So people that have just passed or already passed away, specifically partnering with funeral homes. And we're in right now Massachusetts, North Carolina, and West Virginia in just under a month and a half since launch. So we're very happy with that. And I think the industry is only gonna go further with time.
Only because we had a conversation before I hit record. I know you've got a personal story already happening now.
I do. Yeah. I was actually last week. I'm back in Massachusetts right now, where my family's from. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed away, who I was extremely close to. Um, and we had a lot of memories, and it's just kind of crazy how, as I'm building out this entire platform, when I get the call in North Carolina, your grandfather just entered hospice, you need to come home. When everything stops, it's like, okay, like I guess this is the reason that I'm building this for, and that gives me motivation to continue doing it. But last week, um, it was my first real funeral as a adult. Um,
Really?
Yeah, the last funeral I went to, I was 13, and now I'm 24, so it's been 11 years. So
And your grandfather is the closest person that you've known to lose.
yeah, definitely, yeah,
So you have an angel,
I do.
as I always say. Has he
Yeah,
come to you in your dream? I mean, I always ask that too. It's like, has he come to you in your dreams?
I would say even better. Something that happened is on Rememory stuff, we're trademarking cardinals appear when angels are near. And when he was on day 20 of hospice, my mom and dad are sitting by his side, and two angels or two cardinals flew and landed on the windowsill.
Oh, I just got the chills. For
And
some people who don't know the significance, you want to share what the cardinals mean in this death space?
yeah, cardinals are really a lot of people's medium to connecting with people that they've lost. That's why I got the cardinal from my grandmother because of her mom. It was her thing with cardinals, and every time she sees a cardinal, she thinks of her mom. And it's like that way for a lot of people. Cardinals resonate deeply within the industry. And weirdly enough, when I went to the funeral home to see my grandfather and celebrate his life, the funeral home had two cardinals, metal cardinals, sitting on their sign. And that's when I knew. I was like, wow, this is cool but kind of spooky.
I mean, cardinals, birds. I know ravens also have some sort of spiritual significance.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with that?
Not as well as Cardinals, just because it's kind of our whole branding. But I definitely would look into the different birds because I know they all have different, meanings.
Well, not just the birds, right? I mean, and again, maybe I need to look out there, find somebody who's very much into the spiritual animal space
Hmm.
to be able to, transcribe and share with us some of the meaningfulness because here we are. I mean, so your grandfather, there were two cardinals, and they were cardinals that were on the funeral home. So they weren't live cardinals; they were just part of their logo, and then you just felt the connection there.
Yeah, well, the ones that flew up to the window while he was in hospice were real. He was still alive,
Wow.
which my mom sent me a picture and literally said cardinals appear when angels are near. And I was like, wow, that is can't make that up. You can't make that up.
Did you get a chance to talk to your grandfather about your project? Like, what were his thoughts and his
I
contribution?
I did. So as I was kind of talking about earlier, we did launch the company with a completely different goal. And we had a big launch party up in Maine. And he came, he surprised me. And we did professional interviews with all the guests, kind of explaining what they thought of the concept and preservation. And he's not a tech guy. He had a flip phone up until the day he left us. And the interviewer said, "What do you think of what do you think of Cam's idea?" And he said, "I'm not a tech guy, but I can tell that's the thing to do." And he's like, a lot of people have all these memories that they want to capture. And now looking back, we made his legacy site for a memory, and there's 550 photos that a lot of our family has never seen. And that got sent through a Labrecque family Facebook group chat of 100 people, and our whole family was ecstatic.
Well, listen, I mean, the fact that the truth is that we are now dying with more digital assets than physical ones,
Hmm. We
right?
are
We're the first generation. So for someone like your grandfather, how old was he when he passed?
84.
Right? So 20 years ago, we died with a box of pictures.
Hmm.
And so for him to leave a legacy with over 500 pictures that multiple family and friends can visit the site. So how does it work? There's a URL?
Yep. Yeah. So right now, the way that we have this set up is when families are going through the arrangement process, if Rememory is offered at that funeral home, uh, the funeral director just puts in all the direct family information, and our software sends out a direct text and email to those five family members with an upload link and an approval portal. So every time photos and videos are uploaded by other people that aren't direct family, they have to approve them to make sure that they're being, their legacy is being preserved in the best light. And that's
There's no discriminating pictures that are popping up.
exactly, yeah, we had to make sure of that. Um, but yeah, that link gets sent around social media or group chats or however families contact one another. And it can be on any device, photos and videos. And what that does is it builds together a legacy site. That legacy site, if we're connected with the funeral home, can be embedded onto the obituary page. So it comes across kind of white labeled for the funeral home, as well as it converts it into a slideshow. So it can be played at the service.
Hey Cam, can you give us a walkthrough of the site and what are you most proud of? Like, what are you most excited about the enablement of
Of course.
remembering?
Yeah, so, well, what I'm most proud of is honestly, this is my grandfather right here. We have 555 uploads, 7 people contributed, and all of our family members are in here. And this is honestly what a funeral home dashboard looks like. So, to kind of walk you through, this is where the main information about the deceased goes. So I'll put an actual name like uh, Sherry Ford.
What inspired you to the layouts of the information here?
Yeah, I would say a lot of what's inspired is probably just from other UI that I've seen, like user interface stuff. Um, I'm not a developer at all, but I did design everything here, and I did
Right?
ask people and check out other platforms that kind of use something similar. And this is just the easiest way to get this done. Um, so yeah, basically what we just did here is we put in the deceased information. We skipped the service part, but you can enter when the service would be in case people want to see that on the legacy site. And then we put in the primary family information and that's it. That's really all you need to do. You can add up to 5 family members here and boom, select legacy site, and it creates that memorial right here. This is where the funeral director would go in and submit a payment. But to show you what a legacy site looks like, you would go here. And
So
this
it's
is
kind of like a family photo album. It's just
exactly
random pictures. It's not necessarily time sensitive or even categorized, right? You just basically have over 500 pictures of your grandfather.
in one place, exactly. And
Um,
that's what makes it easy is because you can just share this link, upload the media here, and then boom, it's um it's done. And the thing is you can continue uploading well after the service. So this isn't bound. This is him. This is my grandfather at a Rememory party. It's not bound to a specific funeral service. This is something that can genuinely live on long after somebody is passed. And like I said, when you send something like this around, there's pictures in here that people have never seen before. Like like this photo right here is of
oh my
my,
gosh, that's a classic.
yeah, this is
Even
my
as your grandfather.
this this stud right here. uh,
Right? And this is like probably like, this looks like a 1920s, 19, right?
yeah, I think this is in the 40s, and this is
40s?
with him, his parents, and his 12 brothers and sisters. Massive family. So we have a lot of photos of him like this, which is amazing.
Those are amazing. And again, some picture that people haven't seen. Well, thank you so much for sharing this. Like I
Yeah,
said,
of course.
that memorial, like to be able to hold on to that, where do you see the technology going in the next, 2 to 5 years with AI and our digital legacy, which is what you're creating with Rememory.
Definitely. I think there is so much potential with this space. I mean, technology is moving absolutely faster than we've ever seen it before, and it really excites me. especially in this space, being able to create a platform like Rememory in a short amount of time to enhance people's lives, make them happy that all those photos are in one place. I see a lot of potential with the use of AI, um, and preservation as far as continuing developing features and also getting physical products that people can remember their loved ones by. We have these Rememory QR code plaques
Oh,
that
well, take it out.
yeah,
So, yeah, take that out. So, talk more about that. This is something that goes on the headstone.
yeah. So that site that I just presented, you scan this goes on the headstone, it would automatically pull up that site.
All right. So, hold on. When you say this, for people who can't see what this is,
Right.
you have to
Yeah.
describe it.
Yeah, so this is a 2x2 aluminum QR code with an adhesive on the back that discreetly it can be pasted onto a tombstone. That allows people at the graveyard to immediately pull up the legacy site of all those pictures of your loved ones and easily see all the wonderful memories that were made in just a click of one button.
But me, and I've been saying this for years now, that the experience walking through cemeteries is now going to be more experiential than it is just a stroll, because now you walk through and you're not sure who these people's names are, but to be able to have that QR code, and then me as a stranger walk up and be like, oh, there's a QR code, and I scan it now, and I don't know your grandfather, but now I'm going to be able to see his life,
Right.
unless there's a privacy setting on it, which I would assume that would be added. I'm not sure. How did that work?
Yeah, so that's actually something that we're adding into the approval portal in a couple of weeks. That's on our dev list is what the family is the one that decides if it can be public or not. So as we get more families that come in and more funeral homes that work with us, there will be a directory where kind of like Google, you can type in anyone's name and pull up, who they are and what they've done. If you go to Rememory and you type in Ronald Labrecque, then you can see all of his photos and videos. But it's up to the family whether they want that or not.
That's amazing. This technology. I'm waiting till like when you get to that Rememory 5.7 or something where I scan by and all of a sudden there's like a holograph of your grandfather, right? That AI has been able to scrape enough information and be able to make your grandfather come alive and some AI sort of experience. That's amazing. Well,
Right.
thank you so much for joining me today. And if there's two takeaways people should be thinking about in creating their digital legacy, what could that be for them?
Here, I'm a videographer, so I'm gonna say this: never ever be mad at the photographer because you'll be thanking them in 10 years. There's always that one friend in a friend group that's carrying around a camera, and sometimes, it's annoying when they're snapping all those pictures. When my grandfather was on his deathbed, this is a great story. My there was a woman that lived in his neighborhood in Lawrence, Massachusetts growing up, and she always had a camera, a Polaroid camera, and she was always taking pictures. And it used to annoy all of them because they'd be playing, and her name was Mrs. Sherrard. And when I was born and my cousins were born, my mom always used to have the camera. And my pet bear would call her Mrs. Sherrard. And on his deathbed, he looked at my mom and saw all the photos of his life, and he said, so it can be annoying at times, but at the end of the road, you'll never ever hate the photographer.
I say that because I have this picture of my parents behind me, that I always, and it's a picture. It's probably the last picture I have of them when my father was healthy or
Hmm.
healthier, right? I think he was probably having a sore throat that summer, but who knew that that was going to be the last picture
Yeah,
that I was going to have of them in a joyful expression,
right,
because you just never know. Life is indiscriminate. I
right.
mean,
You never know which photo is going to be your obituary photo unless
oh,
have a photo shoot. But
there's a moment of truth, though,
yeah,
right? I mean, that's something to think about. It's like, and something to think about. Like, hey folks, when you're doing your pre-planning,
right?
maybe you want to make the decision on which photo you want to be in the forefront of your legacy, and not the one that is just haphazardly. Sorry.
Well,
So
yeah.
that was number one. Did you have another takeaway for people?
Um, I guess another takeaway for that I have for people is there's going to be a lot of new technologies that are coming out when it comes to artificial intelligence and digital twins and recreating somebody's image and likeness. I would just be careful of a lot of those systems, as you have to think if grandma and grandpa would have signed up for the terms and conditions before their data was input into those companies. That's something that I believe very strongly in. I know there's a lot of great people that are trying to build softwares to help people going through the grieving process by talking to their loved ones that are no longer here. Um, but I have a very strong stance on that, because what I like to say is, in my generation, Gen Z, look at what the like button did to my generation. The like button gave us anxiety. It gave us a lot of stress. It gave us a lot of comparison that we didn't ask for. But when it was created as a good thing to say, hey, I like what you're doing. With this new technology, I think the concept of it is fantastic. If you're able to continue hearing grandma or grandpa's voice, I think that it can be a great tool, but I also think it can be a very dangerous tool if it gets used in the wrong hands.
Wow, you just opened up a can of worms that I think we're going to have another podcast about.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think what you're bringing up is digital consent.
Yeah, exactly.
Digital legacy consent. I mean, that to me is like food for thought. As we're stepping into this very unfamiliar time and space, right? We just don't know what the future is going to hold. I try to say to people, hey, look, Facebook in 2007, sure, I'll put all of my, memories and data and information. And little did I know that it was going to be, my data was going to become a commodity. And so we just want to be super conscientious and find that balance between memorializing and being able to hold those memories of the people that we care most deeply about, and at the same time making sure that from a digital security standpoint, that we're protected.
Right.
And with that, thank you so much for this conversation, ending on a pretty like wow. I didn't think we'd end there, but we probably have to do a part two to this. Cam, where can people find you and your company, and best way to engage with you?
Yeah, you can find us on all social medias at Rememory Legacy, and you can also check us out on rememory.com. We do sell these legacy plaques to families that have already lost somebody that they love. It's not just for people that are going through at need at a funeral service. So if you want a legacy plaque and a legacy site, we're more than happy to help your family preserve them in the best light possible.
And with that, thank you so much for your contribution. I'm really excited for your company, and we'll end here.
Great.
Until then.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I hope this conversation inspired you to take control and plan for the inevitable to protect yourself and those you leave behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at digitallegacypodcast.com. Remember, life is full of surprises. What happens after you die shouldn't be. So keep your passwords safe and your playbook up to date.